Hello, welcome to the I'm Angry, Annoyed, and Amused podcast. Here I'm with Mike. So next to me is Matt.
What's up?
Over there is Johnny.
Yo, yo.
And across the table is the other Mike.
Hello.
Today, we got a fun one. Very close to some of our hearts. So there's a recent discovery. I guess you can call it that. It was a LiDAR scan. They haven't dug anything up. But apparently, under, I believe it's the largest temple, the Khafre Pyramid, in Egypt, they found some sort of structure that seems to be organized, not like a random thing. It's not sand. That goes down over 2,100 feet from what I saw. There's some...
Arguably.
Arguably, right. Yeah, it's all scanned,
there's somebody
so...
disputing the data already.
Right, of course, and that'll come up, I'm sure. But
We need to dig.
as far as I understand it, it is like... the thing they used to discover, it's like relatively new. It's not like they've been doing LiDAR scans forever, and it's like, oh, this is... Our LiDAR scan said this. It's like a newer thing.
It's a newer thing.
So, but pretty much, I guess the debate or the question really is, what's up with that?
Well, the people that found it seem to believe there's a whole city under there now.
Yeah, that's what I saw.
Some of the stuff that I saw, there's columns and then a square kind of structure way down deep that obviously they can't get to, which to them indicates, that there was a whole city down there. I don't know where they get that from.
I think the city idea might come. There's a couple at least. I don't know the number of them, but I know that they exist of underground, like ancient underground cities that they're not really sure, like archaeologists or whatever, aren't like always really sure where they came from. They just exist. But some of them are like incredibly complex, go not miles deep, but like significant, like into the ground so far that you need to figure out air, like filtration, things like that normally, people wouldn't really like think about. I mean, if you're like, it's like making a bunker, right? But it's like a complex. One of them I know, I want to say it's there in Kuyu. I might be wrong.
But they're not.
Don't quote
they're
me on
not
that.
2,100 feet below.
They're not 2,100 feet. But like,
the
I just mean that some of the cities are so big that they believe they could have housed and fully lived like, or whatever, at least like 40,000. I saw like 40,000 people in a related.
Pretty
So
good.
I think my thought, and this isn't based on the thing, just thinking about it, that like a thing like the cylindrical things that they seem to see, I don't know. I've never read a LiDAR scan, so don't take me to task on that. But whatever, if I'm going to believe these researchers, it could. I think part of it is like, oh, this is a similar thing to these underground to get water, air. You need certain things that connect to the
surface.
So they might be thinking this is a similar structure. Maybe it's a city, but nobody's been underneath. Like nobody's in.
But there was one theory
in it or anything.
That what they found was the rest of the obelisk.
Right,
The top
that's
of
a
the pyramid
belief.
is just
The
the
top
tip
of the
of the obelisk, which
Right,
would make it
which is like a normal obelisk.
But that's
Obelisks
what I
end in
s-
pyramids.
I saw two pictures. The
Which
one
would
that you
make
just
it
showed,
tremendous.
which was the
2,200 feet
cylinders.
tall or something like that.
the cylinders, that picture. But I saw another picture where it was like four walls. And it was like you saying, it was the top of it.
Yeah, the first thing I read was that it looked like a solid structure
Right.
that people thought it appeared to be obelisk. It looks like it comes down from the pyramid and would make a massive obelisk. And then I don't know if it was more scans or just, I think it was like one research team that was primarily, it's not like a bunch of people came to the same realization at once. It was like one group. But then I think, they probably just thought about it more. And like the first thing I read was an article about the discovery. So that might not have been like a first, what do they say? First,
So with all the people,
first hand, whatever.
I have a
primary
big-
source.
I have a big question.
with
to
all the
ask.
people that think they know how the pyramids were built, right? There's a few.
This
different
throws a
theories,
huge wrench
This
in
would
it.
throw a
Whatever it
huge
is.
wrench in it.
Whatever it is.
and completely change history.
But
So-
100%.
I have like, the pyramids have been like this thing people have been studying forever. How has no one ever looked under? I have never been to pyramids, so I don't know how they
Well-
work. But I would have thought they would dig in the pyramids a little bit. And
Well, I think they do go down a bit, right? Or do
Right.
they not? I mean, they're not sitting right on. They got to be covered a little bit in sand.
I believe, yeah.
but
They
has
gotta
anyone
go-
checked?
they go
Has anyone
below.
dug?
Well-
Has anyone moved the dirt around
They
it?
try
Like,
to preserve them.
But the LiDAR.
I was going to
thing
say, I think there's
changes stuff.
two things. One is that, like to us, it seems like, oh wow, this is it's an ancient wonder of the world or whatever.
Right.
But for most of history, nobody cared about those things.
That's
People
true.
just there was way more going on.
Right.
Than like look, I mean, throughout time there were
And a lot of people
explorers.
didn't know Egypt existed.
Right, like it's just a place, and I'd imagine for like people like Egyptians, but now modern or like a couple hundred years ago, there's been some strife in that part of the world. For it's not like it's not like, oh, we got tons of time and money. Let's just investigate all this stuff. A. B. There's this whole, like, in the archaeology community, there's like a preservation versus investigation kind of thing. You know, like to Egyptians, they consider it a part of their heritage.
Of course.
And like there's one guy I know, because I've listened to, you know, like there's some people now who are like archaeologists who are getting famous, you know, on like podcasts and stuff. And there's some guy's name of he's like the head of the Egyptian Conservation
I know that
Society
Definitely
or whatever.
know that guy.
I think he had
And
a
he,
TV
like,
show.
And he like refuses to let anybody investigate any of this stuff. And that's like twofold of we just want to maintain. We don't want you messing around. You know,
Right.
God
But
forbid
if
you
it's
break
4
something. It's like
walls,
a million.
You would have thought that's the first thing they've done when they found the pyramids. Like dig against the
See how
wall
deep they go?
just to see. Does it stop there? Is it 3 feet?
I don't know,
Is it-
man.
think
If
it
you
works that way.
if
I
you
don't know.
walked up, if
I don't know.
in
That's what I would
100
do.
years, if you walk up to the Empire State Building, I think you're gonna go, this is it. You're not gonna think there's
Really?
another Empire State Building below it.
would-
Like the pyramid is massive,
Yeah.
right? So you get there to the bottom, you can't even see the top. It's this incredible structure.
Oh.
I don't think a lot of people's first thought is how deep does it go? Because
I
like
don't know. I mean,
buildings aren't
they-
made like
they-
that. Well,
I guess.
buildings just aren't made like
The,
that.
the LiDAR
generally
thing
speaking,
is fairly new. Fairly new.
fairly new.
Right.
But I don't know if they did any other like tests.
Testing. I don't know if they have so far.
I work with an Egyptian from Egypt. He's only been here a few years. And we were talking about this the other day real quick, and he told everybody talking about, don't believe it. And we were like, why? He goes, most of the stuff that you hear about Egypt is put out by the Egypt government to boost tourists, to do whatever. He's
That's
like,
possible.
It's a big tourism.
yeah, he's
Yeah.
like, don't buy it. It's probably bullshit.
I mean, that would be good for them, I guess. 'Cause, like that's a funny way to go about
Yeah.
like boosting tourism. You know, to see a thing that you can't see.
Yeah.
Unless their plan is
It's
to
just
excavate it
Just to go
Right.
there and know
And
that
and
you're
know that
standing
there's
on
deeper.
top.
Know that it actually
Yeah.
goes further down. Like which the pyramids are already like.
But these were
You know.
Italian researchers. They wouldn't lie.
Oh, okay. Says the Italian.
Well, I mean, the thing, right? To be able to even do the LiDAR on, they must be at least have
Getting
permission
permission
from
or,
some conservation
Well, they've
Egyptian
done,
government
they've
group.
done
Who
ground
knows?
penetrating radar and ultrasonic tests and things like that over there.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
I think
I'm gonna
one.
go
This
there.
LiDAR thing is more powerful.
I'm
Yeah.
going to go with my own LiDAR and figure it out.
I think
going
the
to.
well, as far as like theories about what it means, because
It means
none
aliens.
well, we can all think about that more than we can like argue about lidar and stuff. But no, I think aliens is the funnest possibility.
I told you what I
That's the
think.
theory I always
It's my
told.
favorite.
I already
Possibility.
told you what I think it is. I'm not saying it on air, though, because I don't want to sound stupid.
Good, say it.
I think they dug a hole. 2,100 feet, little by little, put a cylinder down and filled it with whatever concrete was
But for
back
what
then.
purpose, though?
Just because.
Just because they knew
Just to
in
mess with people in the
2025
future.
people would find this thing with the new
Let's make it
LiDAR.
look like an obelisk. Let's only
Probably
sink one
To
obelisk.
bury bodies.
So
Maybe.
I
Yeah, maybe
originally.
there's tons of bodies.
So I'm
Probably
only
to-
saying this because
probably
one
to
of my
bury
theories of the
bodies.
pyramid, when I didn't know they went 2,100 feet down, is, and it's kind of stupid. I just like
It was
has
a
to be.
spaceship.
No. I was like, they dug a big square, whatever the shape is. They filled it with water. They pushed the stone in, took some water out, put another stone, and that's how they only had to keep it level. And then they just moved some sand.
That's a good idea.
I mean, it's not horrible. It's
There's
not.
also some ideas
it's
about.
stupid, but
Stupid idea.
but it's
Well,
it's better than aliens.
It is. But
I
there's
know it's
also.
not better than aliens.
Aliens don't
It's not-
exist,
well,
so of course
Johnny's
it's better.
Better than aliens.
It's
What?
not better
It's
than aliens.
easier to prove than aliens.
Exactly.
Aliens
Aliens
is the
Aliens
best.
is the best.
Aliens is the
answer.
best
No,
answer.
for you guys who believe in all that crazy
Well,
shit.
it's just no, but it,
You don't
Even if
believe
you
there's
don't.
even if you
aliens?
don't,
I
If
can't
the
believe in
answer is
aliens.
aliens.
even if you don't, if aliens, if you know for a fact that aliens had built something on Earth,
Right.
That's
That's
the
awesome.
Best,
That's
the
the best
coolest,
possibility.
It
that
would
is the
be,
coolest
but how
outcome.
can you believe in aliens?
Well, that's what makes it the best.
Very easily.
Very
You
big
you guys don't
universe.
believe in God.
Very big universe.
Like that's just as weird
they're
as
like
an
different
alien.
realms.
Why? Yeah, I know, but like you don't believe in alien. Like how do you believe in
do
something
believe
you've
in
never
God,
seen? Oh, you do.
and I
Well,
but,
the
do believe in
alien thing-
aliens.
but you know, like they've never been here that we
don't
know
know
of. We've
that?
never seen them. We've been to planets or we haven't.
Yeah,
Who
but
knows if
we've
that's
never-
all
my
fake?
my general
we
take.
haven't been to planets.
We have.
We've been to the moon.
The moon. We've never been
No,
to a planet.
we've
sent to a
rovers. And
we
stuff.
sent rovers and
Mars
stuff.
rover.
Yeah, all right.
Right? How
Fair
come
enough.
nothing's
That's
there?
something.
They
Well,
put the green
because
screen up.
There's no.
Yeah,
okay,
well,
there
I
is-
mean, I
come on,
don't know.
listen,
I don't
as
really
far as
believe
The
we-
Martians shot
Yeah.
that
as
down
far as we know,
immediately.
as far as we know, there's two things about that actually. First of all, as far as we know as of right now, in our solar system, which is pretty small,
Right.
relatively, Earth is the only planet where life can survive.
Exactly.
That doesn't mean it holds true for the entirety of the universe.
Right, because people can live
or-
differently than
or-
we live, of course.
Right, or even our galaxy. Not even that. Just there may be another
Oh,
planet
yeah,
where
and
even
another-
humans can
right,
survive on
other-
in different galaxies.
right.
Right.
I don't
but
believe
even
that either, though.
even beyond that, Mars almost definitely had water. and it is far enough away from the sun that that life could survive.
Yeah, but there's no one there.
Theoretically,
If that
Now.
drone,
right now.
So you're saying
one
There's no-
belief. There's
but
one
there's
belief,
no
Johnny,
one that you know
dinosaurs.
of.
that human life.
There's no dinosaurs around on Earth either anymore, but we know that they existed
Right.
at one point or another. So aliens on Mars could have existed and just don't
Yeah,
anymore.
well,
for
there's
whatever
even a
Well, let's-
belief that humans are from Mars. Or this is not me saying this is true. I'm just saying one of
No.
the theories. Well, because there's some trait like there's. I think one of the things now that I think
because
they've
we had
actually
tails at one time.
no now I think they've actually done some more like getting I don't know
Research.
sediment or whatever. No, but I just mean when they first like were taking pictures of Mars. There's like these pictures where it looks like a river. And they're like, that's not, there shouldn't be any water. And they're like, oh, maybe there was water. Oh, it looks like there might have been water.
Yeah, those pictures I look at
100,000
look like
years
there
ago.
was water trails. Or
Yeah, it's
whatever.
just, I don't know the facts of it. I'm just saying the
we
belief is
left Mars to
possibly
come here.
that it was old enough and they had, on Mars, went through what people are saying now is going on in the Earth, some climate change issue or whatever. It could be a million different things.
See, isn't that
And they
more?
sent life here. I'm not,
What-
that's not
how-
my
Funny
favorite one. I don't
because
believe in that one. I'm
that's
just
what
saying
they're
that's like,
trying
I
to
think
do.
we talked about it in
that's
a podcast.
what we're doing back to
Yeah,
Mars.
that's
We
literally-
talked about a
keep
podcast
going
once where
back
we
to
talked about like the Earth being wiped away for whatever reason, right?
Right.
And then the next Big Bang or
Iteration.
the next generation, people come and then all our stuff is buried, it's and they're finding all our stuff, right? And they have to build again from stupidity to whatever we are. The people, if they aliens or whatever, who did that and whenever that happened, are way more advanced than we are. And like,
They were way more advanced by the end of their civilization than we are.
but
today
can't we
now.
place the planet? Wait, how old?
And we
I mean,
lost-
we do know the
didn't-
planet.
we haven't
lost all
known-
that technology.
No, but we know how old the planet is, right? Roughly,
They
well,
think.
yeah.
right? So we're saying,
Well, no, but even still, the way that
Like
they
from an
test
astronomy
that,
perspective.
they
Right.
test. Well, yeah. But a lot of the aging of Earth is carbon dating, no, and that only would
Yeah.
test for
They have a range. I don't
right,
think
but
they're
we
like it's
we
exactly
know we can
this
go
old.
back
But it's
as
a-
far
it's
as
a pretty
dinosaurs
wide range.
and
Yeah,
stuff
oh,
like that.
Yeah,
So
fossil records.
do
and
we
stuff,
not
yeah, for
think?
sure.
They could have existed when dinosaurs did. We didn't know of.
Yeah, but
Mars.
how were they? How were they so advanced and so not advanced?
What do you mean not advanced?
It's not
Okay, because
being wiped out as a species
you-
doesn't mean you're not
No,
advanced.
no, I'm not saying being wiped out as a speed. The sun could have went down for a day and everybody died. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the fact that they built these pyramids that today's people do not know how they do it. We don't even have the technology to do that.
Wait, are
It
we
doesn't
still
make-
talking aliens or just
No,
we're
we're
saying
talking
ancient
about-
I
humans?
think we're coming
We're
back
talk-
to Earth.
Okay,
We're-
ancient
okay.
humans. Ancient
Right,
humans.
right. We're talking about, but then outside of those few things that we're stumbled by, we're not coming upon anything else that's like wow. Like if our world
Like
crumbled
a
to
gun, like you don't find
Like-
a
like
gun,
if
like a
our wor-
laser
right.
gun
No, but they-
as a fossil.
Right, but they
I'm
found
saying-
that hammer.
So they found the hammer.
No,
I
but I'm
was
saying
gonna
if
say.
all-
And they also there's a thing
A really
with
old
the
hammer.
you ever see the dinosaur prints with the footprints?
Yeah, yeah.
But I'm
at,
saying,
the
like, if
basin.
our world,
Yeah.
if our world ended today, and 200 years from now, people dug up, they'd find some cool buildings, they'd find some cool shop, whatever they'd find, and they'd go, but somewhere they would find probably a piece of a crane. Like,
Yeah,
oh,
but
that's how they
well, there's
did it.
multiple theories
but
about these
here's
kinds
the
of
thing, what they
things.
think. They think that there's layers and layers and layers going back millions of years now.
Layers of
That,
Earth,
that you
That, like, we never
you
found.
never get to the oldest civilization.
right?
Like we think that's the oldest, but now
truth
this could
is-
And there's
this
also-
could,
listen.
this could redate how old
How old-
civilization
Because
is.
if you-
true.
And
if
they
you
think
wanna-
over time we've lost it.
Even-
Over this could have happened millions of years.
And there's
ago.
also
To tell you the truth, where it is, if that evidence exists and it's true, it's in the ocean, because
Right.
Pangea existed, right? Everything's separated, and now
that a
it's
band?
all water. No, it was a land mass. That
Yeah, sounds
can,
great.
that, you know.
there's a lot of
So
different
anyway,
theories
it
as to
would all
like
be
why that
underwater,
can happen.
and we don't
Yeah, I
explore
know.
the deep
Or like-
sea. When
yeah.
nobody's digging
Well, yeah. Well,
underwater for
we
things.
try to go. We can't get there, right?
It probably is. If they did have like a crane a million years ago, it's deep in the ocean.
Yeah, and,
at
and
this point.
fossils also, even like because we have fossils, I think there's a very common like thought that like you die, you
figured
just
it out.
become a fossil. You need very
Oh,
specific.
it's very specific.
like
yeah.
there's parts of the world where the fossils just don't exist,
don't exist.
because the Earth's just not
The
made for it. It's
environment's
just
not-
not
The environment's not
conducive.
made
for it.
Not everything fossilizes. You need
the
a
fact
specific.
that we have as many as we do.
I don't think I knew that or didn't know that.
That's kind
I
of
never really
proof.
thought of it. But
Yeah,
okay.
but that's. I mean, there
Yeah.
there are
there goes my goal.
whole
But
parts of the
also,
world where
okay,
you
so-
cannot things cannot be fossilized at all.
If we
That's
come back to
interesting.
the pyramids for a minute, because I only heard this thing yesterday, but you said it's been around a long time, right? The
What?
fact that in no
what I was gonna say.
hieroglyphics,
Oh, yeah.
in none of the paintings, in anything in Egypt, is there anything about building the pyramids, like pictures of people building the actual pyramids?
Right.
And they have
So that's why
they
think
have
they were
hieroglyphs
built
of everything.
That's why I
Prior
think it's fake.
to
I
that
don't
Well, no,
know.
not
How
that
mu-
it's fake.
How
The-
many paintings are there of building the Empire State Building? You know what I mean?
But we have records.
There's
The
lots.
way
I'm
just
Egyptians
saying.
held
But there is.
records.
There's a
Oh,
picture with
yeah.
guys sitting on a
But there
beam.
is.
Like we
There
don't
is
we don't do
pictures of-
hieroglyphics,
of-
right? We don't on our
Yeah,
walls
yeah, yeah.
paint
We
it.
don't do hieroglyphs.
But that's how they
But
maintain
there-
records.
Right.
Exactly.
And we have evidence of
And there's zero records.
mean,
So there's nothing about the pyramids being built.
nope.
not
Nothing?
in
Not in-
nothing.
nothing.
In records
So the
that we've
higher
discovered.
so the hieroglyphics
we've
in there
discovered.
don't share anything about the pyramids. It's just
paintings,
about
No,
the
the pyramids are in it. They don't have anything about the building, but they have records of every king or
right.
you know.
Anything that's like in it, like right.
Right,
So
right.
So,
but
say
no,
they could
so
have
they have the
been there.
pyramid beams.
so
say
that's
they
what I
could
was
have-
going to say.
they
So
could
the
have been
pyramids
there
could have been there
already.
when they were there, and then they just took them.
That's
It's
the
basically-
primary.
It's a history of their civilization.
truest-
basically,
or not
but it
truest.
doesn't show the creation of these pyramids.
Right. Not truest. That's definitely the wrong word to use, but like I guess. Okay, so the very like standard what you would read in like a history book is that ancient Egypt they made the pyramids, right? And then
might not
part of
have.
the idea is just that Egypt existed for so long by its as Egypt as like Egypt we know that they think like this is like a fun fact that like we're closer to Cleopatra than she is to the pyramids being created, and that's in like the standard version, right? And then there's
data.
like this is guy Graham Hancock, like the ancient apocalypse theorist people, and what they believe, and they're not aliens, they're not talking about aliens. They believe that there was, I think it was like 13 to 15,000 years ago, there was like a big apocalyptic type event, right? The flood, actually, like the biblical flood. And their belief is that they were very advanced, like at least where we are, if not surpassed us in some technological way. Right? It might not be computers and metal. It might have been, who knows, sound and like there's a million ways you
to
can
build
make.
Right.
buildings.
Like we went a certain way with like combustion engines, you know.
Math at the very least.
Right.
Right,
If
they
had
definitely
it.
had math, like complex calculus, not just
Right.
arithmetic or whatever.
Right.
So the belief is that things like the pyramids, a lot of these ancient structures, that like Machu Picchu.
I want
a
to
lot
get.
of
I
these.
want to get
there's-
into those. in a
There's a
minute.
handful in Latin America. There's plenty in North America. The pyramids are a big one. The Sphinx. The belief is that these were created by a different, older civilization, and then Egypt came to be, and they found this thing, and they had a reverence for it because they're like, this is crazy. I mean, if you were a Stone Age civilization, you found a pyramid that I don't know if by then it might have been degraded, but the belief is that it was originally like limestone.
White. It was all
Like
white.
pure limestone, and then they had a gold cap
top.
on it. So like it would have been a remarkable in the middle of the desert. It would have been like an insane thing to see.
Right.
Most people
Especially
would
if you're a
assume
Stone
it's
Age. Like
natural.
we think it's crazy now, and we have buildings.
Right.
Like we have things that are as tall or taller. For people who were like, we just came out of a hut. Like we were living in caves a couple decades ago, whatever. We just started farming.
Right.
And we see this thing, so they had a reverence for it, and it was included into their culture, but it's not actually of them. They didn't make it. It's really like the prime, and that goes into Machu Picchu.
I wanna go back to that
Teotihuacan, like
real
all those.
quickly.
I want to go back to Machu Picchu.
Just all of them. I know all these answers. I just got to ask for the viewers. Does anyone, or can you even look it up? What are the years that those are said to, like, who was first?
Well-
how many years between them?
Of all of the
Of
different,
like some of the
ancient
bigger
sites.
ones, like Machu Picchu.
It's hard to say
As you're
because
learning,
most of the
keeps-
time,
it keeps changing.
Yeah, but
does
like,
change a
but
lot.
do they think they're hundreds of years apart, a few years apart? Like, and-
to each other.
yes, to each other.
Well,
Like, because
so-
back then, I assume, and we don't know really, but we know when sailing and travel went. Was there a way that they could have seen each other's things and oh shoot, they have this. Let's build our
Well, if
version
it's
of
far
this.
enough back, they could have walked.
Well, yeah, because we're all attached at one point.
Yeah, I don't know. I
Exactly.
don't know if like the Graham Hancock like apocalypse theory guys. I don't know if they go as far back as Pangea. I'm pretty sure they don't. But they go as far back. Again, like this is like a lot to get in. Like the basic thing is that like the comets killed all the dinosaurs.
Right.
The belief is that there was actually a biblical flood.
Okay.
Right. And so like there's this thing
But
with
they
the,
tested the land.
with the apocalypse theory or ancient apocalypse theory where it like ties in sort of mythology, actual structures and things that seem unexplainable, and this general, I guess, sociological perspective of it, right? So it's like the idea that the biblical flood, like the Bible, Catholic, whatever, is obviously like one of the main stories, but almost every culture has a flood myth.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So part of that is like, well, if you do, and then if you look at the archaeological record, about 13,000 years ago, I think, give or take. I'm not sure the exact, but
There
in that
was-
like
there
a
was
range,
a flood.
there
They
was a
think-
massive
yeah, they
flood. They
think
have
there was a
archaeological
massive
evidence
Evidence of the
of a
flood.
massive like worldwide flood
Yeah.
caused by, I think it was an impact. I believe there was like another meteor, but instead of like the soot and whatever blocking out the sky, it caused a massive flood and killed most of the world. And that's also, if you think about it, even in modern times, when we have the ability to, we can create a massive city inland. Most cities are by water.
Right.
It's just easier.
You need to be near the water.
It's just easier. We could
All
today we
civilizations
could
grew
do
up
it.
Why?
on the water
Why?
because it was a transport.
It was
Oh,
transport,
sorry.
You needed to
water.
live.
to live.
Like
Right,
you need
right.
water.
Needed to
No, I get it.
Generally, it was much before cars and planes, trains,
More
whatever.
convenient.
It's hard to get things inland. You know?
Yeah.
So it was just
Bottles.
I was thinking when you said easier, I wasn't thinking.
no. It just
convenience.
goes into the idea, like how you mentioned, how you said, like, well, why wouldn't we find other stuff, right?
Right.
Because it does seem like, well, there got to be a smoking gun. If there's these really truly advanced, why didn't we find a laptop or like a thing akin to that? You know what I mean? But part of it
probably
is like if there was a massive flood, you're already all the cities are by water generally, mostly. They would be buried. And then also, if it's now underwater, we don't search.
We don't search there.
We don't really look. And another one is like
And
the
it was-
Sahara. The Sahara Desert, I believe, in the period of time that they're talking about pre the flood,
was a lush
was like
rainforest.
it was a rainforest.
Well,
But nobody looks in the nobody's digging.
Nobody's digging in the desert to see who lived there.
well,
dead,
dead, dead bodies.
and people don't really dig in most places.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
Right,
it's not
right,
like
right.
it's not like
There's a
anywhere you
reason.
go. Right. There's, like, that you would have a thing.
Yeah,
And
Find a
even-
pot.
let me just start digging.
And then dig. People don't
Right.
just go. Archaeologists don't just like throw a dart at a map.
Right.
And dig.
Well,
But-
maybe
so
they
we don't
should.
know where things would be. Especially with the way that like the globe would have literally physically changed in the case of a flood or
Right.
any sort of cataclysm.
Yeah, no, makes sense.
So that could hide the things. And then to your about like the timing, I'm not really sure. I think the idea though, generally, is just like we've been around. I believe the thing like by we I mean people for like they know like humans. Homo sapiens have been around for a long time. But like 9,000 years ago, I think is like the earliest date of when we started being.
5,000 BC. BCE they call it now.
Yeah. Well, it's just the
What's the
BCE.
BCE?
Before current
Era.
era.
instead of Christ.
Before Christ. Before current
What's this
era.
see now?
Of course.
Before
Before,
current
before
era.
Common Era.
Common era. whatever.
Okay.
I think it's
5,000 years. The Sumerians.
So that was 7,000 years ago.
7,000.
Okay, so
roughly
7,000 years ago.
Years ago.
So let's say 9 was like they first started making settlements, and then by the time we got to 7,000 years ago, it was an actual
Society.
legit
Well,
civilization
that's
with
what
a
they're
written.
talking about. They're talking
Yeah,
about,
I just mean we got out of caves a couple thousand years
Yep.
before. Like it took a while
Yep.
even to get to Sumeria.
Right.
So the idea is, but let's just say it took us 7,000 years to get here
Right.
from nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's imagine that the civilizations that were around in the assume it's all true, and there were civilizations that existed 13,000 years ago that were super advanced. Their humanity timeline
Right.
might have been 10,000. They might be 3,000 years past us. They just got wiped out.
Okay.
And then the thing is like, well, how did they got wiped out, but they didn't retain any of the information. It's like, well, they did retain a little bit. That's why there's the flood myths. That's why there's these things. But if there was a cataclysm today that wiped out, I don't know, 80% of the world, we wouldn't. It's not like the 20% would just be able to remake society exactly. You'd have to kind of start over. To some extent,
Yeah,
things would go to waste.
we talked about this.
Yeah.
You could
On
lose
this?
the technology.
Oh yeah, we did. Yeah,
Right.
right. You
We
could
talked
lose
about it. You could lose
technology. I mean, you need that guy who
and then
knows
you
how to
gotta-
do that
and you
thing,
gotta
or else you
start
can't do
all
that
over
thing.
again.
Right.
I mean, if you lost 80% of the world, it's very likely. I mean, not 80% of people are electricians. You might not know. The 20% left might not know
Not know
how to
what
do,
to do.
any electric.
All right,
they
so-
might not know how to carpet. Like 80%.
So
is
the
a
four,
lot.
it's there.
the four of us can't hang out because we have two tech people, a handy guy, and like a. You're
well, mine would be
intelligent
worthless
too, but
in
yours would be
apocalypse.
math and stuff.
I might
so,
survive.
like,
He would
You
be
guys
close.
might be useless. You guys might be rendered useless. Like
No.
if there's no electricity, there's no more technology.
I'm just saying we
Right?
need we need one of us to talk about the future of technology to tell you about it, so you can do something.
I can
So you
start
need
a
at least
fire.
one of
I
us.
can start a fire. so
No,
that's-
no, and
That's really
no,
what we need.
we're getting rid of him.
But they think
Mine won't help. Mine finance doesn't help.
there are theories that civilizations go back millions of years. but
There's
they're
even
just
multiple
buried
cycles of
so
it.
deep in the earth that you're never
Right.
going to find that happened.
No,
Like there
I
could have
get it.
been multiple gyrations, and after a while, and I told you there was a Stephen King series of books that spoke to this. Like they were back. Let's call them like cowboy times. Like they knew technology was around, but nobody knew how to use it, right? Because it degraded over time.
Oh,
but
interesting.
they lost the knowledge. Basically, what happened was they turned it over to AI effectively, and the
you
AI
go.
started to crap out. So
Nobody
the
knew how to
AI
fix
was
it.
fixing everything. People didn't know how to fix it anymore over time. So even though
a
the
great point.
technology was there, it started. So they had to start basically all over again.
Oh, wow.
You know?
Yeah, so I think this new discovery at Giza is definitely just gonna, the biggest thing is just gonna, it's gonna really bolster that argument of like, we don't know.
We don't know.
This was not them.
Yep.
This wasn't like the Egyptian, civilization that we knew. Something else was going on.
older
It's either
Egyptian
older or
civilization.
Italians or whatever. There's just something, because it just doesn't make sense.
There's not a lot of buzz about it. So I think people are poo-pooing it right now.
It's
Right?
gross. It's
Well, I
Because
think-
it's not really like
it's all been
out
spread
there.
by the
You're
Egyptians.
hearing about it. I only saw it on Instagram. I haven't seen a
Well-
news report about it.
Well, this is one of those
The
things.
first couple of days, I think it was on the
Well,
news.
it's one of those
I
things.
don't know,
First
though.
of all, and
Just
this
guessing.
isn't to speak to me particularly. I find it, but I think most people just don't care how old civilization is. That's why it doesn't
Really?
make the news.
I think a lot of
You're
people
not-
don't care.
you're not-
I
yeah,
find it fascinating.
I find it fascinating
a lot of
as
people
well,
don't.
but a lot of people, if you're gonna
Really?
say like, but if you
The
go
four
up,
of us do.
I think
A
if
lot of
you
people
go up to
don't
an
know, like-
You
average
don't-
person, and you
yeah,
just
of
say
course
like,
I do.
and
guess.
if you say how long ago do we think the pyramids were made?
Oh,
Erica,
no.
if you tell them that
No.
that
Like-
it was 10,000 years earlier than we currently think that it was, they're not gonna know the
Yeah,
difference.
that's true.
So that's why it doesn't make the news, because nobody cares.
Make some news.
Well, it made Daily Mail.
Well, I was gonna say the other point to that, like this argument, is that if it's the case that there was at least one, possibly multiple across the world, ancient civilizations that were at least advanced or more advanced than us, and we have completely rejected it from history up until now, there's got to be a lot of people who want to keep that as the case.
Keep it the
yeah.
way it
You
is.
don't want to then, I mean, how many things you do, like,
yeah, you gotta go.
look,
back.
will that destroy religion? No, but I think a lot of people would be like, wait, where did he kill, like, so the flood, there was a whole
Well,
civilization.
the creation myth kind of
Well,
goes out the window.
right, the creation. I mean, there's a lot of things that just comes into question of like, how advanced? What are you talking about? Like, that was an obelisk. They actually had energy. Like, what do you mean? And just like it just raises questions that there's probably a lot of powerful people would rather not be asked.
I feel like
I would think.
I feel like
I
the
mean-
next step is to take that LiDAR thing, whoever owns that little gun or whatever it is, and get to all the other places and see if they have things on them now.
Yeah,
I'm sure that's going on already. You probably just
Like-
haven't heard anything.
certain places.
I'm just hoping they find a laser gun in the basement. Of
Right,
that
if they find like
building.
a laser gun, that'd be
In
great.
the
you know?
basement.
Or like the crystal
Saber.
skull, like the crystal skull thing.
skull.
Yeah, I mean, there's a
The
lot of
crystal
ways it
skulls are
could
out
go.
there.
Yeah, those are real. There's a lot of ways it could go. It might be fake. I don't know. I mean, not fake. Somebody's. It seems like legit. I don't think the report. It's not like completely. It's not a Onion article.
Might be a
or anything.
misreading.
Could be a misreading of the data. Who knows? That'll all come out. But I think it's just like it's one of those things where when it converges onto this already like growing idea of the ancient civilization theory, it just is. It's an interesting.
The Vatican's
It's
just
an
gonna
interesting
have
thing to think about.
The Vatican's gonna have to change their story.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys know the Vatican has an observatory, right?
Yes.
That their astronomers basically there.
Well, what's he do?
They watch the stars
Oh.
for aliens,
Oh,
pretty much.
they're not doing a good job.
Well,
You don't know.
they're
that.
really far away.
You don't know if they're not doing a good
The
job.
astronomers, the Vatican, or the aliens?
Aliens.
All of them.
Aliens would have to be very far away.
I mean, I hope
They
they're
have.
aliens.
They have.
I would love it.
The Catholic Church has.
They really recently
Yeah.
they've made a stance on aliens. They
They-
said
they
they're all
have a
like
thing
children of
about
God or whatever, which is crazy.
They have a thing. Like I said,
That's
they would be
interesting.
able to up their story. Like they have something
Yeah.
in their
Yeah.
pocket just in case.
Well, I think they got
Always.
they do.
they
Oh,
got
it's-
in the archives at the Vatican. They got the answers to everything.
Did
They
you see
got
the
it
thing I
all.
sent you
Really?
today?
100%.
That the
If
CIA
anything got out of the Library of Alexandria, it's in the Vatican,
Really?
and maybe a lot of it did.
The
you know,
CIA
I
found
100%.
the Ark of the Covenant like years ago. Did you see that?
No, I haven't seen that.
Why are they hiding it?
Why would who be hiding?
Why
the
is the Vatican keeping it from
Well,
everybody?
this
Because-
I don't want to be as a Catholic, I guess in name. I don't really like practice it nowadays.
Terrible.
Whatever. But like
You
separating
eat meat on
separating
Fridays, don't you?
separating the church from the faith, right? The Vatican is in the game of control. They're not in the game of faith.
Yeah, that's always been.
They
my
have
problem.
the Pope. I mean, like okay, take this with a grain of salt. I'm not God. I can't say who's going to heaven and hell.
Damn.
Almost every pope's going to hell if it exists. They're not good people. Like they're not
Wow.
doing good. If okay, look. If the Catholic faith, right? If Jesus if Jesus is right, right? If that is the truth.
Distance between me
I
and-
No. I'm saying if the truth is Jesus'
Damn.
teachings.
I'm not even
right?
religious, and that was a little hard.
Maybe not all. I'm just saying a lot of them were bad. A lot of them were
I think
legitimately
you're on-
bad
well,
political
yeah,
guys.
but I think
if
you're
you look
on-
at
Oh,
them,
yeah,
there's
that-
like
that is
actual.
true.
They were
They
bad
were-
people who did bad things on
They were-
purpose.
well-
they were military leaders.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
The Crusades, like that's not a
That's
not
true.
a
No, that's
Christ
true.
teaching.
You're right about that.
I
That's
think.
true.
I agree.
I think
and just the Vatican itself
I think
now.
you're on the. I think you're on the right track. My view on it's a little less cynical. I don't think that they're. I don't think that they're out for control's sake, because that then can lead to the idea that
They are for
created the
religion's sake.
religion. I think that they simplify things over and over again to make it easier to spread the religion. And now, because we're
I make
getting so
billions of dollars.
advanced, well, that's beside the point. I think now that we're getting so advanced with the research, some of these shortcuts that they took to explain to children how religion works are kind of getting
Coming
caught
out.
up. And so that's why when they like are changing their story, they're just telling the truth in more detail than they have previously, because it used to be a lot easier to convince people to believe in a faith.
True.
So I think that yes, there were definitely.
I mean, they were like
there
actual
were
bad,
definitely bad
evil guys.
military leader.
Yeah, okay.
Definitely.
Yeah,
but I
back
think
in the way
I think
days.
overall,
But they were
I think
popes.
overall,
Like it's the same thing.
I think
but
overall, and especially
more
today, it's in good faith that they're doing it. They're trying to explain
That's still
a
look,
religion.
Matt, that's
and
your
from a
story is very
simplified-
nice, but they're still about power and money.
It's
you would
more-
say,
At
it's-
the end of the
would we
day-
say the
I mean,
last
I
100
At the
years?
end of the
Like
day,
even the
it's
last
still about
couple?
power and
This
money.
pope, look,
but
this
it's-
pope,
any
yes.
pope in the last 100 years,
I-
they exist. They sit on a throne,
True.
right, in
To
a
God.
walled city with art that's maybe not,
Sovereign
maybe
nation,
maybe I
actually.
won't call it stolen, but it's not the
sovereign nation.
Vatican's art. The priests
Okay.
didn't make it.
Right.
A lot of it was donated. They conscripted some guys to make some, like Michelangelo. I get that, right? Some of it is like theirs.
Right.
But just the statues alone, I don't know how many people they could save from hunger by selling them.
Right.
What do you need the statue for in the Vatican? For tourism money? For what? You're not supposed to have money.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, if
So
anybody's
there
going
is-
to do
there is
that,
a
it should
lot
be
of-
the Pope.
There is a lot of concentration
That's
of
true.
power and money there at the Vatican.
There, it's true.
Which is, for some people,
It's a political entity,
That's a
which
reason
cannot
for
be
them to
faithful.
not believe
That's
in
true.
the faith so much, because they're not using all their money for good, right? A lot of them.
Yeah, they're not. That's true.
like
They're
they're
not like
sitting
using
on-
their
they're
billions of
sitting on
dollars to
trash.
help
Doesn't seem like
cure
it to me.
to help cure
I
like
don't
homelessness
think
or
they are.
disease.
They're using our
I mean,
money.
like they're
just
doing
like-
the way the
nothing.
government uses our money, they're using our money, right? The money they collect at the churches here
Right.
may go to help, start a food pantry or something.
You guys,
but the millions and
this is
millions
sad.
and millions that there's, which is probably
It's
billions.
not sad.
No,
What about
I'm
when
not-
you,
I've
when
never-
you hear
I-
of like a missionary
No,
thing,
I'm
right?
sad
Why
because-
not fund that?
I was gonna say I'm not religious. I was born, but I don't follow. I don't believe in any of it. But you guys just like really made me like now I'm
Well,
never
no,
gonna
you got to
believe it.
separate the faith from the
institution.
the
No,
physical
right, right,
entity
right,
of
The
the
right.
church.
Exactly
institution,
right.
the institution is flawed because
No,
it's
I know.
made by humans.
There could be a
and humans are
God, but there's a
flawed.
human.
The
that
faith, the
found-
Bible
can be correct.
is fine. I'm cool with
Right.
that. I
Yeah,
respect anybody who
man
believes
found
in
a
it.
way to use the
It's not
faith.
my thing, but I believe in it.
Right, man used faith to like screw people over and
Right,
take
but
money.
my point is that
Yeah.
I don't think that I'm not that cynical. I don't think that they did it to screw people over. I think that they did it and continue to do it. This power
Well,
is
I
to
think they-
spread the word.
Well,
I don't
spread
think
the word
that they're
is to keep order. Let's face it. I mean,
Right.
it keeps order. 100%.
right, but I don't think
disagree
that
with
they're out of it. Like they're trying to rule the earth. I think they want. I mean, yes, it is them effectively ruling the earth. I understand that, but I don't
They
think
are,
that it's
and
Priests
Matt,
are-
let me
from
tell
a
you something.
place
Priests
of
are really powerful
selfishness.
people.
Those
like
doors,
spend a middle
those doors
evil
are gonna,
days.
If things go haywire, those doors,
The king did what he
doors of
said.
the Vatican are locked pretty quickly.
Well, listen,
and they ain't going to be letting
listen,
anybody
I
in.
don't really follow the Catholic Church either.
Those
I-
Swiss Guard guys
I think that their
are
history.
going to ensure that nobody's getting into the Vatican,
I think that their history of
and their grain
of
supplies will be
corruption.
full.
I think
you
their
don't have to
history
worry
of
about that.
corruption, and I think that the way that they decide doctrines that are not based off of Scripture is wrong. I don't follow the Catholic Church for that reason. But my point is that I don't think that they're doing it out of a point of selfishness. That there's like a council of bishops or cardinals, and they're like, we want to be like the richest and we want to have all the power. I think they're legitimately trying to spread the word.
I don't
know, but they do
disagree
have
with how
the
they're
power. But,
doing
like,
it.
they have it.
They
They
do
don't-
they have it.
effectively
They don't have to
it.
do that
They do
anymore.
effectively.
but they do
they already
just
have
have
it.
it.
So here's
I
the
think
To
that
here-
be a
I think
cardinal
that
they
is
did
to
it.
have power.
They
But
did
here's
it.
the
They
thing.
never-
I have a
they still
question
have to do
about
it
them.
because you never stop trying to get people to believe in God.
But see, but that's what I don't think they do. I don't see
I think they
cardinals
do.
doing all this outreach.
Right.
I just don't. Maybe in some part, I'm sure there are good cardinals, right? I don't think everybody in the Vatican is evil. I think the Pope, as the figurehead, if anybody should be the most Christ-like, it should be the Pope. He shouldn't be wearing gold. He shouldn't sit on a throne. Like,
He should be
if
like
I know anything
other
about, like, I went to
cultures wear
Catholic school
those-
my whole life. If I knew anything about Jesus'
You give
teachings,
everything.
it's not that.
You give up
It's like
everything.
the opposite of that.
Right. And
Right.
there are
So if the
other
Pope-
people
Are there
in
good cardinals?
history.
I'm sure.
Right?
There's some cardinals that are great people that go out through their communities and do good works.
But there are people in
But they're
history
also political.
that
They
were
also
like
go to
that, right?
Maybe
They
in
are
America.
political.
Yeah,
That
throughout.
gave,
They are.
not just Catholic religion, other religions that gave up all their wealth and everything to
Yeah,
preach.
there are
priests
genuinely
did.
Right.
there are genuinely good
Right.
Catholics.
There
I
were
don't-
people that did that.
I believe
Priests
most
do.
Catholics
Huh?
are good. I
Priests
just
do it.
mean,
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. You got obviously we know the church is worth
which is like
billions.
the more power gets concentrated, the
Where's-
easier it is
Exactly.
for those people to be corrupted.
But
like,
you- like-
a
Right.
priest
I've never
at your
seen
local,
a cardinal
Right,
driving
that's
a
probably
Lamborghini.
not a
That's
bad
where
guy.
that's where my problem is that
I don't
it is
think that.
Wait, but where are they
It is
doing with all that
corrupt.
money? Like other than just sitting on it? Because they
I don't know. I'm
It's
sure
not
they
like
spend it on something.
No, like
they
they-
do have missionary work,
But they don't
Right.
seem to drive Lamborghinis. They don't seem to have nice like I don't know. Maybe they do.
I
Maybe
don't
they're
know.
driving around the Vatican.
Maybe we know
after
some
hours.
different priests than you know. I know a priest or two that like drive nice cars.
Really?
And these are priests on,
yeah.
on a local level.
On a local level.
Really?
Does the Pope need a Lamborghini? No, but he lives in a mansion
No, I know that.
in the Vatican. And I don't think he
fully
ever
taken
wants
his
for
His own
anything.
country.
You know what I mean? He doesn't drive
just
around a
saying, it's like-
Lamborghini, but
The point is they have so much money,
Yeah.
yeah.
right? But
and their
it's- but it's
assets are
always-
innumerable
They have assets all over the world.
all over.
They
It-
own-
every
they
every
own
church
land
belongs to the
To
Vatican
the Vatican,
throughout the world.
So, I mean, you talk about like X amount of dollars can cure something, or X amount of dollars can fix something in some country. You don't see that happening, right? They want to go out, they want to convert you to be a Catholic, and then collect,
Off you,
more
yeah.
beans from you, but you don't see them putting money into the pot to really, right?
For altruism.
Not that I know of.
no.
I mean, I'm sure there is.
I mean,
I'm sure there is money that goes to
yeah, but
throughout
it's
the
not.
world.
It's not as much as they're worth.
But-
Is what
Should
you're
have
saying.
became a
Right,
priest.
but like, I mean, I don't know if you looked up the net worth or whatever, just of all the holdings in the Vatican.
That's ridiculous. It's a
Sell
ridiculous
it and
number.
save half the world from poverty and hunger.
Whatever number you saw probably wouldn't even be accurate.
Right. I mean, could you
At
just-
least based on what I understand about the Vatican and all the shit that they have on the ground there.
right, and the archives too. Right, and that's how it started. I
Right.
just think that as long
Library
as
of Alexandria. is
once the
actually-
Vatican became the Vatican, right, when the papacy was the papacy, it stopped being a religious thing and it became a government.
became
Or maybe
a
not. It's
political-
not government. It became a political institution, and once it's a political institution, it just has different goals.
Yeah.
It just does. Because
changes
like,
everything.
why would I mean? Right, and even to Matt's point, if they're trying to spread the faith, right? There's not a way to do it, but there's a path that you're doing it because you believe you're saving these people,
Right.
and then there's doing it because you're like, well, they might be saved, but also will have another 1,000 subjects.
But they now have
and
to,
those look synonymous. Like you can't really
You
untangle
can't-
the two.
right.
But
They-
it's impossible.
because they
That's
have
what
to
I mean.
protect. They have to protect
that at this
the
point
power
it's-
source.
The power
right?
source,
It's more
right.
If
about
they don't
attention.
protect that's what they're worried about. Like
Attention than-
the Pope has to worry about the power source. If the power source goes out, then you lose everything.
Yeah, I think
the
that's
only way
why.
to keep the power source is keep bringing people in.
Yeah.
Right? Because people turn away, but as people turn away, you get other ones in. So they
Yeah,
have
I mean-
to keep the power.
I mean,
and
consider-
just by virtue of that, they have to be
Yeah.
political leaders.
Yeah,
in
and
a
I mean,
sense.
consider the movement, and which has been happening for like hundreds of years, really, but thousands, kind of like the progressive nature of the Catholic Church. Right, makes no sense because there is a document that you're supposed to just. This is it. They don't make new Bibles. I mean,
Right,
they do.
right.
They
They do.
they reinterpret them, but I mean, there's a Bible.
Well,
There's
not
a,
even that. They just have doctrine. That's one of the biggest
Well,
things. I
right.
disagree with.
They
just
make
come
a
up-
thing,
They legitimately come
and
up
they
with
say this is
rules
by
and
God,
just
and it's
say,
like
yeah.
that's not how it goes. I mean, just think about and like even for things that I agree with. Again, like I don't believe like I'm not a believer, I guess you could say, but I do know like the kind of tenets of the church, right? And things like I mean, just in the like recent years, and like again, I'm cool with it, but the church, like the Pope deciding that gay marriage is cool. I don't know. I don't remember that in the Bible. Like, fine, is that a good reading to say, look, the only main teaching of Jesus was that everybody's cool and they're all children of God, so just love everybody? Right. Yeah, fine. But they're not coming out and saying pedophilia is okay. Like, so they're making a progressive statement because they're realizing that faith is going away.
Right.
And they're like, we can't lose everybody. We
gotta-
gotta kind of give them a little bit of, no, we're cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
or
yeah.
sorry. I guess this wasn't like in the Bible, but even as far as just my
Gay
thought
marriage
being
was-
to move things progressively from a faith standpoint makes no sense.
Right.
There
Right.
either is the truth of the faith or there isn't.
Yeah.
Once you start making little rules about it, it
Right,
stops
that's
being.
what I disagree with.
It has nothing to
That
do with
as
the,
well.
the faith anymore, and it's a fish on Friday or meat on Fridays.
I
don't think
say
Jesus said
I
that.
say that too. He did.
I don't think
He
Jesus said
did it.
that.
It's
Why would I
supposed
have
be-
to do
It's
that?
a ritual of community, and I think that it's stupid. I think that it has absolutely nothing to do with the religion at all. If anything, it's a distraction. I actually feel the same way a lot of times about most of the Bible in general, where like even with like gay marriage, where there's this interpretation where it's either talking about pedophilia or it's talking about homosexuality, and
Not to equate the two.
what it comes, they're not the same.
I know, I was
but
helping you out.
it, it comes off of the translations or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And I think that when it comes down to it, as far as I know, almost none of the Bible is written with divine inspiration except for the Gospels. So as to how you can say any of the Bible besides the Gospels came from God,
Well,
and they were
technically-
written by people that were not inspired by the Holy Spirit, it doesn't make
Exactly.
it, even their own rules. It doesn't make any sense. And so that's where it kind of separates for me, is that like the Bible can be misinterpreted because it was written by people who were not.
But what if,
being
man?
told
What
by
if
God.
they find that civilization is way older and there was pre-civilization, like things going back
Well, I believe in the flood.
just a million years, right?
Yeah.
Would you lose your faith over that?
No.
I don't think
I mean, you
most
could
people
still
would. I
believe-
just think
My faith is based in a person who historians are pretty sure existed
Right.
2,000 years ago and died and came back to life. That's where my faith starts. I don't start my faith at a 7-day like creation story or like whatever, because time doesn't exist for God anyway. And that's where I say like I think it's important to separate the Bible from the Gospels in your interpretation, where you can take the Gospels a lot more at their word, which are the stories of Jesus' life, than you can with the Bible, with the rest of the Bible, because there was a divine inspiration that came from the Holy Spirit for the Gospels that didn't come for the rest of the books.
I think it's the opposite. The Gospels are eyewitness accounts. All the other ones are divinely inspired. Like Revelations was a vision.
No. The apostles got divine. That's why they were able to speak multiple tongues. They got the divine inspiration.
But
they
I
were
don't-
filled with the Holy Spirit.
I don't believe in like Catholic doctrine that it's considered that the Gospels are written through divine inspiration.
That's fine.
Like Islam, like
That's fine.
Muhammad, that is written through divine inspiration.
yeah.
The witnesses, the Gospels about Jesus' life are supposed to be eyewitness. Those are guys. Those are also
Eyewitness
real
accounts.
guys who wrote about a real guy.
Yeah.
Which kind of is, in my understanding, is like part of the reason why it's so, for Catholics, why it's so believable is because like they're all just people, and it wasn't divine. It's not going. This guy got a vision because a million people get visions from God every day.
That is the story. It is told that upon Jesus' ascension, because they didn't. So the theory is that, and even shared, is that these people didn't write the books. They told it to other people, and it got written down eventually because they were able to speak multiple languages. On Jesus' ascension, the apostles were filled with
Holy Spirit.
with the Holy Spirit, not
Amen.
not the other.
You know what I meant?
That's it.
Not the other,
all I
not the
know.
other Bible writer. You know what I mean? Not the other writers.
Well,
of
listen,
the
I
Bible.
think as far back as the world goes, I'd be happy.
I'd like to
I
know.
wouldn't
I
lose
just
Yeah,
want
I-
to
I
know.
wouldn't lose my
just
faith.
wanna
I
know.
I don't think
wanna
everybody
know.
would. It's just
How
a
it all
possibility.
evolved.
I think
it's a
it does
possibility.
I
come
wanna
into
know, too.
question, but
I
I
think
don't
people would. Some people would just, you find out this like,
That'd be
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
just the craziness of like, you're telling me that there was
A million person
was a
city,
civilization
2,100 feet underground, getting air
that
and,
had air and
water
energy and free
coming
energy
from the top.
Like they might have had Wi-Fi.
I think that would be
Yeah.
fantastic.
13,000 years
That'd
ago.
be
The
cool.
battery, the Baghdad battery, right?
That's true.
That'd
That
be
is
dope.
true.
There's some kind of energy out there.
I
Yeah.
love that.
I think I don't care how far back it goes.
I,
I
I want to
love
know
it.
the truth.
I
I hope
love
they
that.
they would just
And if
say
they find
do a full
and if they
excavation.
find a
Yeah.
laser gun under there, I'm cool with
Perfect,
that too.
right? Perfect.
That'd be
Label
cool.
the USS Enterprise.
Really, really old alien, like a really old
That'd be
alien
dope.
sitting
Right.
down there. He's like, "Oh my god, can't believe you guys finally made
Found
it."
us. You found us.
Yeah, they
Like,
are.
that would
They
be
are
fun.
just living down there.
Yeah, that'd be great.
All right. Well, anyway, keep your faith. Thanks for listening as always.
Stay angry, annoyed, and amused.